We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
Welcome to the Man-Made Monstercast. I am Rob138, and today we will be diving into a classic direct-to-video zombie schlockfest. But before we get into that, I'd like to remind everyone that the Man-Made Monstercast is a Patreon-supported podcast. By supporting me on Patreon, you can access exclusive episodes of Pod 138. To join, please check out patreon.com/R0B138. Without any further ado, The Video Dead.
Hidden inside the house at 21 Shady Lane Avenue is a black and white TV with the power to turn itself on and come alive with the dead. The Video Dead. But for the new owners, their first warning may be too late.
Why did you kill her?
You don't know what you're messing with.
The Video Dead, a new form and shape for zombie terror that invades a neighborhood and threatens the innocent, the unsuspecting, and the unbelieving. Nothing can prepare you. Nothing can save you. Nothing can stop the onslaught of the Video Dead. It's the Late Show to end them all. Look what's buried inside your TV. The Video Dead.
The Video Dead is a direct-to-video zombie flick that tells the story of a family that inherits a television that happens to be a gateway that allows zombies to enter our world. The film was originally entitled Creepers and released on October 21st, 1987 with a budget of $80,000. The Video Dead was directed by Robert Scott and took over a year to film because the cast and crew were only able to work on the weekends due to their real-life schedules. Robert Scott didn't really go on to do much else in the world of horror or genre film after this. He was the second unit director, however, on 1995's Leslie Nielsen flick, Dracula, Dead and Loving It. But beyond that, he's done a bunch of second unit work on TV shows like Justified, House, and Crossbones. So, we open with some delivery guys named Donald and, well, Donald. They're delivering a package to the love child of Bill Murray and Jim Belushi. Real quick, what kind of delivery service is this? In their van, they have this large wooden crate and what appears to be lots of cases of napkins for like those bathroom napkin dispensers. The ones where you kind of pull one down and the other one comes out behind it. So, the Donalds drop this crate off to Henry, played by, and I'm totally not making this up, Michael St. Michaels. Michael St. Michaels. Very, very creative parents there. Henry, a struggling writer, decides to accept the package since it's already paid for. Upon opening the crate, he finds a television with a mirror tied to it. Henry then says that he doesn't even watch TV, which by the look of him I find impressively difficult to believe. Henry eventually discovers that the only thing that the TV will play is a B-zombie movie called Zombie Bloody Nightmare, which in my headcanon is a sequel to the Adam West Tia Carrere zombie flick, Zombie Nightmare. Anyways, Henry keeps turning the TV off and it keeps coming back on. He unplugs it and goes to bed and it comes back on. The TV then falls to the floor and smoke billows out before a zombie head slowly comes out. which is a pretty cool visual. And listen, I gotta say that for as low budget as this film is, the effects are not bad at all. This shot actually also winds up inspiring the box art for the film. The unfortunate thing about this shot is that Jack Stillman, the actor that played the zombie, inhaled the CO2 that created the fog, and he nearly fainted. Stillman would later fall ill, and Michael St. Michaels would finish out the role of Jack the zombie. While on the topic of Stillman, when he auditioned for the role, he apparently stayed in character the entire time. He stayed completely silent and glared at Robert Scott and only responded with grunts when he was asked questions. Scott hired him on the spot. But back to the film. The Donalds returned the next day, realizing that the TV was supposed to have been delivered to the Institute of Occult Research or something like that. Quite a big blunder on their part. They then discover Henry's body, and we fast forward 2-3 months later. We meet Zoe, who delivers some really, really wooden dialogue in the back of a taxi, and find out that she and her family are moving into this house. Once she's inside, we get a fake-out scare by some shambling dirty feet, which wind up belonging to her brother Jeff. Zoe is played by Roxana Ogson, and Jeff is played by Rocky Duvall. According to their IMDb profiles, neither really went on to do anything else. Something else to note here is that Duvall was only 16 years old when he played the role of Jeff. The two give us some exposition about their parents returning to the States over a nice meal of hot dogs and beans. Zoe's plate is, loaded with this stuff. But for real, though, this shit was a staple in my house when I was a kid. Hot dogs and beans, that was dinner. Am I the only one? We then cut to Jeff meeting their neighbor April, who is walking her dog Chocolate. April is played by Victoria Bastel, who actually went on to play Suzanne Dayton in the Clint Eastwood Dirty Harry film The Deadpool. So April and Jeff head back home, but Chocolate gets loose and runs into the woods, where he finds Zombie Jack. So, you're telling me that this zombie has been hanging out in the woods for 3 months, and no one saw him. Even if he was legitimately just standing in that one spot in the woods, surely someone would have had to have seen him by now, right? Unreal. Unfortunately, this marks the end for Little Chocolate. April seems to think that he went off to mate with a skunk for some reason, and she and Jeff take off after him. They find his corpse, and Jeff suggests that they lodge a ball down his throat and tell her parents that it died that way. What the fuck? There are now multiple zombies, and they all follow them back to the neighborhood. Later on, Jeff is talking to April on the phone, and we learn 2 things here. April's dad is fucking the maid Maria, and that her parents believe that Chocolate died by eating the ball. Yeah. Well, okay then. So let's talk about the zombies real quick. There were originally supposed to be 12 zombies, but due to budgetary restrictions, the number dwindled to 5, with the 6th zombie being added later. Also, all the zombies had characters and backstories written for them that only the actors who had to audition for the roles knew. Those zombies were the Bride, played by Diane Hadley, who was murdered on her wedding day. The Bride, not Diane. Jimmy D, played by Patrick Treadway, a drowned athlete from the 50s. He was also the handsome bad boy type. These characteristics explain his bluish skin color and why he attempts to go after April and Zoe. Treadway also appeared in 2 episodes of Z Nation. Jack, played by Jack Stillman and Michael St. Michaels, who died in a fiery car crash, which is why he was all burnt up. Ironhead, played by Al Milan, who also plays one of the Donalds, who was a serial killer who strangled people to death, which we will see momentarily. And the Half-Creeper, played by Laurie Michael Ringette. It's purely coincidental that the zombie bears a resemblance to the Creeper from Jeepers Creepers, considering this movie came out so much earlier than Jeepers Creepers. Also, fuck you, Victor Salva. Originally, when the Half-Creeper's killed, its legs were supposed to get up and run off, but the scene was cut due to director Robert Scott not being happy with the effect. So, let's see where we're at. Oh yes, we get discount Dennis Hopper from Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. He shows up. This is Joshua Daniels, played by Sam David McClelland, and he's looking for a television set. He claims that he got it at a yard sale and mailed it to the Occult Paranormal Institute after the TV killed his wife. Yeah, likely story, bub. I think my dude's just out here looking for a free TV, if I'm being honest. Also, why are you waiting to follow up on this a whole 3 months later? Anyway, Jeff turns him away. Later that night, Jeff finds the TV in the attic, and it's got Skinamax playing. Nice. Quote, the woman, played by Jennifer Miro, appears on the TV, and then in front of Jeff. She gets naked, and then she starts to seduce him by moaning and rubbing his face. She then reappears on the screen and is killed by the Garbage Man. The Garbage Man. The Garbage Man then reveals that the woman was a zombie, and then has an exposition dump about the zombos, and tells Jeff that he needs to tape a mirror to the TV. So, quick question here. How come the woman is the only one that can change into human form? Doesn't that kind of contradict the motivation for them wanting to kill the one thing that they can't be? Human? I'm probably thinking about this way too much. So, Jeff takes the TV to the basement and smoke starts coming out again. A hand reaches out to stop Jeff, but he's able to sever it and get the mirror on the TV. Crisis averted, except for the 6 zombies that are already loose in our world. We cut to some real zombies ate my neighbor's shit, literally, as the zombies attack the neighborhood. Ironhead gets into April's house and strangles Maria. The strangulation scene here was a bit weird to me, because while he was slamming her head into the wall, her hand started bleeding. I feel like the director kind of wanted, nails on the wall, maybe a scratching effect, but maybe couldn't pull it off, but just maybe settled on bloody fingerprints streaking across, but that just doesn't make sense. So Maria slams an iron into the skull of Ironhead, which is a really, really awesome effect, but it's all for naught as Ironhead kills her anyway. No clue why this doesn't kill him, because later on they're killed with arrows into random body parts. The video dead then kill April's father. Continuing on with this montage, we get a pretty ridiculous washing machine zombie. Yeah. The bride pops out of a washing machine and then stuffs one of the neighbors into it. The following shot of the neighbor's leg sticking straight up out of the washer is pretty great. Joshua shows back up at Jeff and Zoe's house. Realizing that the zombies have surrounded them, Jeff, April, Zoe, and Joshua barricade themselves inside. Joshua then hits us with another exposition dump. He tells them that the zombies kill humans because they can't be them. Unless you're the one that seduced Jeff earlier. Right. He also tells them that they are repulsed by their reflections, which explains the whole mirror gimmick. He tells them that they attack when they sense fear, and then explains that there are 2 ways that you can kill them. 1, you trap them in an enclosed area, and they will eventually eat each other. Or 2, and I'm not even joking here, you can just kill them. Like, kill them how you would kill anything else. That's it. Yep. Well, when you kill them, they aren't really dead. You see, the thing is, that just tricks them into thinking that they're dead, at which point you can dismember them. You know what? Okay, whatever. I'll go with it. It's unique. I'll roll with it. Kind of meta. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Anyways, Jimmy D gets in and he kidnaps April. The others are able to recover and refortify. They also put mirrors on the front door, which, by the way, are not there in the next shot. And then I ask myself the question, what if they wanted to get in through the windows? In the morning, Jeff and Joshua decide to go zombie hunting. Joshua gives Zoe the keys to his truck and tells her that if they aren't back by 10 minutes till sundown, to leave town. Okay. Hold the fuck on here. 1. What an oddly specific time. Why is it 10 minutes till sundown? Why not 15? Why not 5? Why not exactly sundown? Why not just fucking leave now? 2. We're talking 6 slowly moving zombies here. Can't we call someone? The police? Something? Someone? People have to know that the entire neighborhood is dead at this point. This seems like a pretty manageable problem. Hell, I wouldn't even call it a problem. It's more like a minor annoyance. Fuck. I digress. Jeff and Joshua head to the tree line behind my house to find the zombies because that ain't the woods. Jeff, I don't care that you have a line about how dense the woods are or some shit. I've been in the woods and this ain't it. We get some buddy cop relationship building between Jeff and Joshua over calling each other names. It's important to note that Joshua has a green army bag and they're setting up bear traps. Jeff also has a bow and arrow. So you're going to tell me that this guy from Texas doesn't have a gun. All they have is bear traps and a bow and arrow. That's it. They then encounter the half-creeper who gets shot in the chest with 3 arrows and drops. Joshua pulls out a small chainsaw to dismember them, and Jeff wants to do it because he likes the Texas Chainsaw Massacre or something. So now we got bear traps, bow and arrow, and a small chainsaw. None of these things are efficient or optimal for killing anything. Well, maybe the bow and arrow, maybe. So, our heroes, and I use that term very loosely, come to a shack in the woods. They devise a plan and hang Jeff, who now has the chainsaw, in the air as bait. Joshua's going to take up a sniper position in the shack with the bow and arrow. Even though he sets up a booby trap with a tripwire and a shotgun. You mean to tell me that this guy had a shotgun the whole time? They could have literally taken care of this entire situation back at the house, for Christ's sakes. Joshua discovers April's corpse in the shack and then falls asleep. The zombies trip the shotgun and one gets shot, which doesn't wake up Joshua at all. The zombies then get some sticks and are trying to play piñata with Jeff. Jeff starts a chainsaw, which then wakes up Joshua, who begins shooting zombies with arrows. None of these shots look like they would be particularly fatal to anyone. Jeff drops the chainsaw and the bride gets it and she tries to chainsaw his feet. Joshua shoots her with an arrow and she gives 0 fucks, but then gets scared of her own reflection when Joshua makes her look in the mirror. They then let her run off with the chainsaw. Wait, what? Wait, hold on. They let her run off with... They let the zombie run off with the chainsaw? It's just... On the way back, the bride impales Joshua with the arrow and then chases Jeff back to the shack. And you know what? If they let her go, Joshua kind of had that coming. In the shack, Jeff finds the corpse of his would-be girlfriend April and then goes one-on-one with the bride. He decapitates her with a hatchet, which they apparently had. I must have missed that. But she runs him through with the chainsaw. Wait, all of our main characters are dead? Well, that's different. Huh. Well, wait, everybody but Zoe. We cut back to Zoe, who has done absolutely dick all this entire time. She takes a look at the sun to figure out what time it is, and then writes Jeff a note saying that she's going for help. Unfortunately, all of the zombies are back. Realizing that she can't show fear by way of an unsubtle voiceover, she invites them all in for Dinty More Chili. I'm not kidding, that's the scene. Zoe, again by way of voiceover, plans to lock the video dead in the basement, which is a mirror on the door, which she does, so that they will all eat each other, which they do. Really cool gore effects here in the basement scene. I really like the blisters or boils on, I want to say it was Ironhead. His cheeks were like blowing up with bubbles. It was pretty cool. We cut to a hospital where Zoe is being treated for PTSD. Her parents finally show up to visit her and they bring her a gift. You guessed it. The TV from the basement. The nurse turns it on and Zombie Bloody Nightmare begins to play. Zombie Jack appears on the screen and looks at Zoe and we cut to black. So let's get right to it. The good. The zombie effects makeup. For such a low-budget film, the zombie makeup has no right to be as good as it is. This is a perfect example of making your budget stretch and playing to your strengths. Scott knew what the film was lacking and made up for it with great visuals. Even the TV smoke effects look really, really great. The score. Classic 80s synthwave horror. Not a whole lot more is really needed here, honestly. The score complements what's happening on the screen, and it really plays into the video store horror vibe of the film. The tone of the film does not take itself seriously at all. Again, Scott knows what kind of movie he's making here. It's very tongue-in-cheek and over the top. He knew that he couldn't have many zombies, so he got the most juice out of the squeeze that he could by giving them all personality and quirks. The scene with the bride using the blender and then laughing with Jack is particularly memorable to me, as well as the washing machine scene. The bad? The performances by a lot of the cast are pretty wooden. It doesn't exactly take you out of the film per se, but it is a little bit jarring at times. Zoe's scene with the cabbie stood out to me, as well as Jeff and Joshua's banter, which seemed to be more monotonous than relationship building, in my opinion. The environments and locations. Look, I know this is a direct-to-video, low-budget film, but I have to point out the locations here, because there's shit that you can do to change it up. The woods looked like a park. It looked like the bush line in my backyard here. Did not feel like the woods at all. And the one thing that really stood out to me the most with all this is all of the houses looked exactly the same in the interior shots. And they may very well have been the same house, which is totally fine if that's the case. But set dressing can go a long way with this stuff. Change up the rooms a bit. Use different props. Use different lighting. I don't know. Do something to make me think that I'm in a different house that isn't just putting different actors in it and telling me it's their house. Just looked very samey. So, the final verdict. The Video Dead is a product of a bygone era for me. It takes me back to browsing our local video store before Blockbuster came through and put them all out of business. I remember the wire racks lined with cardboard video cassette boxes stuffed with styrofoam blocks. I remember the neon signs in the windows, the smell of buttered popcorn from the popcorn machine, and the forbidden old West-style white doors that led to a room with a red light with a sign above it that read adults only. Even though I watched this film streaming from my Fire Stick, it still took me back to that time in my life. For all of its shortcomings, it is just a fun direct-to-video splatter schlock fest. 6 out of 10 from me. It's by no means a good movie, but it knows that it isn't, and it doesn't try to be anything more than what it is. Grab some friends, grab some popcorn, grab some sodas. It is the absolute best way to watch this movie. All right, so that's another one under the belt. In closing, I would like to thank some of you that left reviews in the last episode. We have PDCST139, Podcast 139. Well, that's a bit on the nose, isn't it? They say, love the new format, thumbs up emoji. Well, thank you, Podcast 139. I'm glad that you like the new format. So do I. I wanted to try to streamline things into a more cohesive narrative in the episodes, and I'm glad it's paying off. I'm really glad you guys enjoy it. We got King Co's CMW. That's my buddy from Chicago. King Co says, this cast rules. Thanks, buddy. CMW Porta Vida. Then there's Rob's boss. Yep, my boss apparently will listen to some of the episodes. You never cross the streams, man. Never cross the streams. Anyway, my boss says, great pod. Thanks, boss. Appreciate you taking the time. Well, that will wrap things up for me this week. Tune in to the next episode in 2 weeks where I will be reviewing Rob Zombie's take on the Munsters. I am both very excited, but also terrified. As per usual, hit the socials at R0B138 on Instagram, at R0B_138 on Twitter, at MMMonstercast on Twitter, at Manmade Monstercast on Instagram and Facebook. Once again, you can support me on Patreon at patreon.com/R0B138. I have been Rob138, and I will catch you on the flip side.